Well, greeting everyone. This is Al Fadi, and I want to welcome you to a brand new video series that we will entitle it something to the extent like the effects of Islam and Christianity on certain areas or topics, or maybe better yet, and we'll let you be the judge, we can call it the harms of Islam versus the benefits of Christianity concerning these topics. And we'll let you be the judge when you are going to watch and analyze with us the material that will be presented. Of course, when I say we, I'm referring to my guest, a new friend that came to our path, was recommended to me by our dear brother David Wood, and I get to know him. His name is Mike Jones, or Michael Jones, who has a YouTube channel called Inspiring Philosophy. And I'll let him talk a little bit more about that, of course. But he does amazing research to this effect, meaning the comparison between Islam and Christianity in certain topics. And today's topic is going to be focused on what we call child marriage. And of course, if you would just to Google his name, you are going to come across a recent debate that he did concerning this topic. Of course, I don't want to steal his thunder. I want Mike himself to share a little bit more about himself. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. It's really a privilege and an honor to have you here. And I know you and I are launching into something new here. And hopefully this will be the beginning of a long relationship and a journey between us. So why don't you give our audience just a brief background about yourself, your ministry and your website, and also maybe you'll talk just for a minute or so about that recent debate.
Yeah, so my name is Michael Jones. I run Inspiring Philosophy. So I have a master's in philosophy, and I do a lot of videos on Christian apologetics. Namely, what I mostly do is present videos defending Christianity and defending the biblical worldview. But last summer, Muslim apologists challenged me to a debate on child marriage. So I began researching that a lot. Prior to this, I did a lot of research on the sociological benefits of Christianity. And so I knew a lot of the sociological data already. And so it was just an easy shift for me to start researching the negative effects we see coming from a lot of things that Islam promotes, like child marriage, polygamy, gender inequality. And I found a lot of interesting research along the way, and it helped me prepare for that debate that I had. And so it went really well in my view.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this. And of course, where can people find that debate? Is it on your website, or I should say your YouTube channel, Inspiring Philosophy?
Yeah, it's on my YouTube channel, Inspiring Philosophy. It's pretty recent. The debate title was "Should child marriage be, or is child marriage permissible? Should child marriage be allowed?" Something like that. Yeah.
Yes, and I have to say, I mean, I use this as an accolade to you. David Wood was extremely impressed, and he immediately reached out to me and asked me to do some work with you, and hopefully in the near future we'll have you right here sitting next to me in studio, Lord willing. So, Michael, tell me, let me ask a question. So, Muslims are promoting child marriage, right? And in their mind, this is something that culturally acceptable. In fact, they make even the claim that Mary was a teenager when she was basically betrothed to Joseph. And we're talking about Mary, the mother of Jesus. But why do you think they do this?
Well, they're trying to justify Muhammad's marriage to Aisha. So they will resort to whataboutism. Well, let's just find other examples in history where this has happened. Therefore, it makes Muhammad's marriage to Aisha when she was 6 and then consummated at 9 okay, which is utter nonsense. If Muhammad was an axe murderer, you just can't appeal to other axe murderers to think that, his murdering was okay. That's not how that works. When they appeal to Mary's age, it's really just bad research. There were no early reliable texts that say that she was a child bride. They try to say that she was 12 or 14. There's no evidence. And studies done by researchers like Michael Satlow or Amram Trooper point out that the average age girls in Palestine were marrying at this point was late teens to early 20s. They weren't marrying at 12. So I would actually argue Mary, when she was married to Joseph, she's probably more closer to the age of 18.
Yeah, and Michael, you make a good point. I mean, today, even in our culture in the Middle East, I mean, if let's say someone who is 10 years or 20 years older than a bride, just in general, even if she was, let's say, 25 and he was 45, people look at it as an odd proposal, right? Imagine now we're talking about a guy who was 51 when he proposed to a child that was 6 and consummated it when she was 9 and he was 54. I mean, just drawing a comparison. And also, the idea of child marriage in the Middle East today, even today, looks weird and strange. It's not like it happens every day. It's not like it happens all the time. But Muslims also will claim that this intended to reduce the idea of premarital sex. Is there any truth to that?
So they try to claim that we need to have early marriage or child marriage because we need to really stop premarital sex. And this is one of their big things we see in the liberal secular West, young teens running around and fornicating left and right. We got to stop this. The answer is child marriage. There's a lot of problems with that kind of reasoning. For one thing, the effects of child marriage which we'll get into later, are 10 times worse. We don't solve a problem with a bigger problem. If you have a kitchen fire, you don't solve the kitchen fire by breaking the dam and flooding the neighborhood. That would just be ridiculous. There are easier, better ways to solve this, which we could talk about. But what they try to say is that, child marriage, allowing teens to get married at 12 or 13, would stop fornication issues. Well, there was a study done called Religion and Sexual Behaviors, Understanding the Influence of Islamic Culture and Religious Affiliation for Explaining the Sex Outside of Marriage by Amy Adamczyk and Brittany Hayes. And they looked at various cultures, and they noted that Hindu and Muslim cultures have a lot less premarital sex. But they noted that they were trying to figure out why this relationship existed. But one of the things they noted in Model 2 of their study was that an early marriage did not appear to explain the relationship. So you could have a traditional society that has low premarital sex without early marriage, without child marriage, without trying to get teens to marry young. So this idea that we need early child marriage to mitigate premarital sex is just not supported by the data. It seems that you could have a society that has low premarital sex without forcing girls into these harmful situations. And the research overwhelmingly supports that when you put a girl into a child marriage, she's more likely to be physically abused, more likely to suffer from psychiatric disorders, emotional distress, and suffer from physical complications, and has higher chance of death as well. So there's all these issues that come with it. And so when they say that we need to have child marriage to reduce premarital sex, they're really trying to use a huge problem, child marriage, that's not even going to solve a little problem, rampant premarital sex.
Right, and it's the argument is in and of itself, or the claim in and of itself, is a little bit puzzling, because if we use Muhammad as an example to defend this claim, what we're saying is it is okay to give young children, girls basically, to adult men just for the purpose of preventing the young girls from having premarital sex. It's almost like a form of punishment for them, just to protect them from premarital sex. Somehow it's okay for an older person, a person in this case who was married actually before that, and therefore somehow that's going to protect the society. And even if we were to say, well, no, that's not the intent, we're talking about a young male and a young female, how in the world a young male is going to learn how to take care of his bride and his wife and provide for her and do all sort of marital responsibilities if they themselves are still young? They're still basically in a premature stage. Maybe, yes, they're past the age of puberty, but that doesn't mean that makes them mature adults that able to understand the responsibility of having marriage. Do you agree?
Yeah, this is what we see in the narrative reviews that I cited in my debate recently, is that we see these young parents have inadequate ability and education in raising children. Children under 5 born to child mothers actually have a higher risk of death because their mothers just aren't adequately prepared at that point to have children or to raise children. They've not mentally matured enough. I mean, the best time for women to start having children is going to be 20s. Basically, that's when we see they're mentally ready at that point. But there was also a study done called Premarital Sex and its Associations with Child Marriage Among Ever Married Women, a study of a national representative survey. And I believe this was done in Bangladesh or India, one of those countries. But one of the things they noted in this paper, which was interesting, is they say that on page 13, they say the existing challenges are increased further an occurrence of premarital sex, as parents in this case consider their social dignity as much more important and marry off their daughter, is an ineffective solution rather than ignoring the risk of child marriage because of their unawareness. What they're saying is that they're so worried about their daughters committing premarital sex, they marry them off into these harmful situations where they're not ready to be married off. And what's the motivation? They're trying to protect their social dignity. They care more about their status in the public eye than their actual well-being of their daughter. So a lot of the times, girls end up in these child marriages, not because it's good for the girl, but because it's about public reputation. You got to marry them off quickly so they don't start having premarital sex. And we see this in a lot of Muslim and Hindu cultures out in the East. And again, it just puts girls into these harmful situations. But what's the motivation? Social status, not the well-being of girls. Whereas in Christian societies, it's more focused on the well-being of the girls. We recognize that, yes, premarital sex is bad, but engaging in that is not going to be nearly as bad as a girl being forced into this harmful situation called child marriage, where she's likely to be abused, have poor skills in raising her children, suffer from psychiatric disorders. And so it's about trade-offs. And it seems that people in the West just choose the better trade-off.
Thank you so much. And by the way, folks, you noticed that Michael has been kind enough to share with you on the screen this research, and we'll make sure that you have access to some of this research as well in the description box of these videos. Well, Michael, I think next time, this is an interesting topic. We need to talk about the physical harm of child marriage and also mental harm and any other social problems that come with that. So stay tuned, everybody, until next episode. Until then, have a blessed day.